Welcome back to Craft Computing, everyone. As always, I'm Jeff, and today's build is going to be absolutely insane. But before we get into it, a huge shout out to Microcenter for sponsoring today's video. Microcenter is the place where you can get all of your PC parts under one roof, or in my case, if you don't live by one, order online at microcenter.com. For a limited time, Microcenter also wants to offer new customers a free solid-state drive. Check the link down in the video description to claim your free 240GB SSD. New customers only, no purchase necessary, valid in-store only, and limit 1 coupon per customer. And a huge shout out to Microcenter for sending over some of the parts in today's build. So what makes today's build so special? Well, it's not the fact that if I take this box away, everything's going to fall down. It's what's inside of this box. It's very unassuming looking, but it weighs probably close to 15 pounds. And this is a custom CNC'd case sent over by Divi over on my Discord server. I have not opened this box yet, but I have seen pictures of what's inside. And quite honestly, I am beyond excited to open it. So let's get this thing started. Get my official Craft Computing unboxing knife going here. So this box came all the way from Finland, and I will say it is definitely well packaged. There we go. I usually save the boxes that all my electronics come in, but I can make an exception this time. It's even denser when you take the cardboard away. Holy crap. When you hear that a case is going to be made with 3/8" steel, it really doesn't sink in until you have it in your hands. Holy crap! That is insanity. Wow. Wow. Oh, dude. It's got a Craft Computing logo on it. That is sweet. Okay, I knew this build was going to be cool. I am completely in love with it already at this point. So, if you haven't gathered already, this is going to be an open frame chassis. Basically, it supports a motherboard, a 280mm radiator, a video card, and an SFX power supply. And that's about it. Now, these parts are literally direct off the CNC machine. They're going to take a lot of finishing and polish work to make them actually pop. That'll be a project for another day. For today, what I'm doing is assembling the case, and we're going to test fit all the parts to make sure that everything kind of fits, because when you do custom work like this, things go wrong. So let's go ahead and see about getting this together and make sure everything works. All right, after a couple minutes of looking at this case and checking out Divi's documentation online, I think I have a handle on how it's going to go together. So first and foremost, we have these two massive uprights made of 10mm thick steel that are gonna go something like that. And then the power supply mount sits at the bottom and holds them together. Once that is done, we've got these two beautiful flat pieces of steel that are going to flank it on each side. So the sides of this case are going to be closed, and the other sides of this are going to be open. Not only was he nice enough to cut all of this out and ship it to me, but he also included all of the mounting hardware in individually labeled baggies as if this were an IKEA project. So thanks, Divi. Look, I even got Allen keys. Now, let's go ahead and see if we can get this thing together. So first and foremost, we've got the SFX power supply mount here and these nylock nuts that are going to go into these slots and hopefully screw right in to the uprights. Like so. You know what, I'm probably doing this the difficult way, because I'm sure I could just start these nylock nuts like this, and then put the frame down on top of it. You know, something like that. Hey, look, it goes together. So, bolt goes through, nut goes on the end, just like that. Like that. Those slide up just in there. Holy crap, that's heavy. Oops. Oh, come on. There we go. All right. So there are the bones of this thing. And then these two side panels are going to go on something like that. So there is the makings of our case. That actually went together a lot smoother than I thought it would. That, I think, is the case all sorted, but now we need to find out if all the parts that I selected are actually going to fit inside, and I think we'll start with the motherboard. This is the Asus ROG Strix Z690i, and it has all of the modern bells and whistles. LGA 1700 CPU support for Intel 12th Gen processors, PCI Express 5.0, DDR5, as well as Wi-Fi 6E built right in. Funny enough, the only thing we need out of this box, I think, is going to be the motherboard and the antennas, because there's no I/O plate that goes onto this. Oh wait, this has an I/O plate built in. Look at the NVMe stack on this thing. It's as tall as the I/O plate is. What the hell? This is my first chance getting to look at this motherboard, and let me just say how incredibly dense this board is. Starting with the fact that they had to use USB-C male headers to break out to your front panel connections, as well as any SATA ports that you're going to use, because there's no room for your standard connections. Also, they ended up using a daughter board stacked on top of the NVMe section for your front panel audio, one of the fan headers, USB 2.0, and addressable RGB lighting. So to say this board is densely packed would be, I think, the understatement of the year. So what is going to be powering this beast? Well, this system is all about go big or go home, except when it comes to size. And in this case, we are using the top-of-the-line Intel 12900K, courtesy of Intel, just for this build. This has 8 efficiency cores, 8 performance cores, and 24 threads in total, with a 5.2 max turbo. It's essentially as fast as I could possibly get on the LGA 1700 platform. Let's go ahead and get this thing loaded up here. It's my first time installing one of these. Can I have a dot? No, there's no dot. Okay. All right. Well, the notches line up, so I'm going to assume that I'm good to go. And there we go. We have a beating heart in this monster now. Now, this case does support a 280mm radiator for cooling, but I figured going with just an all-in-one cooler would be doing this build a disservice. So instead, I'm using the AlphaCool Ice Bar Solo to do a full custom loop for the CPU. What this is a block, pump, and reservoir all-in-one very tidy unit that will plug directly into a 280mm rad on the side of the case. So I get all of the size of an all-in-one liquid cooler, but all of the benefits of a full custom loop. Plus it has this sexy little window on the side. Now, unfortunately, the Ice Bar Solo does not yet have LGA 1700 mounting compatibility. Fortunately, the ROG Strix Z690i has holes for both LGA 1700 as well as the 11.5X mounting points, so this should, in theory, bolt right on. This will bolt onto, like, anything, even going back to 1366 and 775 sockets. Anyone remember those? So this all looks fairly straightforward. The mounting plate is going to go on the back. I just need to get it to line up with these holes. Okay, not the most intuitive system, and it's not notched for the different sizes, but There we go. To the manual. Oh, had it in the wrong slot. Go. Something. It does indeed fit in the very small space allowed by this motherboard. As we're just test fitting everything today, I'm not going to put any thermal paste on. We're just going to make sure everything actually fits. All right, got our block pump reservoir thing fully assembled. Now let's get it on here. Hey, we're lined up. All right. All right, so there is one block pump and reservoir combo all in one. And while it took a decently long time to install, I think it was still shorter than setting up each of those components individually. So I think I'm gonna give AlphaCool a pass. Next up, every build needs some memory, and why not go for about as fast as you possibly can? In this case, we have 32 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance DDR5, and this is their full blackout kit, and an absolutely perfect match for the color scheme we're going with on this build. These are two 16 gigabyte sticks running at 4,800 megahertz, or as Ian Cuttress would say, 4,800 megatransfers per second. Oh man, that looks good. I am in love with this system already. With that tidy little package all put together, let's go ahead and get the motherboard standoffs in and see if this thing is actually going to fit. And all right, so far so good. And there we go. All right, that is quite the look. Man, that is cool. For the radiator on this project, I went with the Corsair XR5 280, which is a fairly thin 280 millimeter radiator, as this is supposed to mount on the inside of the case, and then the fans are going to pull air through it. And I'm hoping that there's actually enough room to mount this along with the AlphaCool pump there, but I'm actually not sure that there is. This out of the box here. Theory, that's supposed to go there, but yeah, we are out of space because this is going up flush against the fittings. So I'm wondering if I can actually flip this and run it on the outside. I have no idea. I guess we'll find out. Try not to scratch the hell out of my desk. And see if we can get this rad mounted. I happen to have the right size of M4 bolts to hold this on. And there is our radiator. Let's go ahead and put it back onto the chassis here, get an idea for the scale of this thing. Am I the only one getting excited here? Because holy crap. That is freaking cool. Awesome. What do you say we do the video card next? Because I'm a little undecided on which video card I want to go with. Option number one is my RTX 3070 Founders Edition. And it should install something like that. There we go. That doesn't look too bad. It does leave the bottom of the case a little bit open though. And yes, this is kind of a first world problem, me complaining about the aesthetics of a graphics card that I own not quite matching up with the build. Option number two is the 6900 XT Reference Edition. And that looks a little something like this. And I think we have a winner. adding the video card also gives this case some much needed rigidity at the top. And I think I speak for everyone in the room when I say I think that's our winner. Holy crap, that thing looks cool. Wow. Yep. All right, 12900K and a 6900 XT. That's our build. Be Quiet is a new sponsor of the channel, and as such, they sent over their brand new addressable RGB fans for this project. They are the ARGB Lightwings, 280 millimeters, and holy crap, those are gorgeous. I didn't want to go full RGB for this build because I wanted the parts to kind of speak for themselves. But it does need a little bit of a color accent. Now, I'm not quite sure what color accent I want to go with yet, but these should absolutely let me do pretty much anything I want as far as color scheme goes, with the rest of the system being black and silver. So now we come to the really fun part of getting one of the side panels mounted up to this build. And the way it's going to mount is actually through the fans and screw directly into the radiator. And I'm hoping I have the right length screws to make this work. I kind of want to stick with the hex head theme here, but no, those aren't even close enough. All right, might have to order some hex heads to match the rest of this build. So we'll use the screws that came included with the Corsair radiator. Put one bolt through there. Through there. Okay, is there a shorter one? I think if I wrench down on it, it'll work. Oh man, that's gonna be such a good look. Holy crap. You know, I think I can actually use the longer screws, and I might 3D print myself some custom fan grills. Or we'll just have to take an angle grinder and saw those screws down to the right length. For now, the screws are just going to stick out because, well, we're just test fitting everything. This isn't final assembly. Probably a less awkward way to do this if I lay the case down. Which, I don't know how it was possible, but it got a lot heavier. All right, we got everything but the bottom screws in. Oh my God. How's that for a look? Man. Oh, that is so cool. And that video card is almost exactly flush with the edge of that case. That cements it. The 6900 XT, that's our card. One more panel to go, and then a power supply. And that is our custom craft computing fan grill. It's gonna go on something like that. There's probably a less awkward way to do this. Oh wait, let me lay the case down again. I always try the most awkward way first. There we go. I think I'm definitely going to replace these screws with the large hex heads like I have on the inside of this. I kind of like the look of that, a little bit more industrial than the button heads here. There is our other side panel. It's not getting any lighter. Oh, man. That is just the coolest thing. I'm blown away. I cannot wait to get this thing polished up and completely put together. All right, there is one last piece to install, and that is probably the most critical one for measuring what is going to be the final build, and that is the power supply, as it installs right here at the bottom, but obviously I'm gonna need some custom length cabling in here because I don't just want a rat's nest detracting from an otherwise beautifully laid out system. For the power supply, we are going with an InWin Compact Series CS700. This is a 700 watt SFX power supply, and I've used it in a couple of different builds before. So, one more time, we'll lay this down. Power supply is probably supposed to go in first, but wanted to save it for last. And that is gonna go in something like that. And luckily, Divi sent me some custom super long screws so I can actually mount this thing up. Again, there's probably a less awkward way to do this, but I wanted to build the rest of it first. There we go. Ugh. I gotta weigh this thing. I really do. All right, power supply is installed, and yeah, I'm definitely not going to be using the stock cables because the 24 pin on the motherboard is right here at the bottom, and that connects literally just a little right angle cable into the power supply. The 8 pin I can definitely shorten as well. It's all of about 8 inches long. We do have to get the graphics card leads down to the bottom of the graphics card over on this side. So I might be able to use the stock cables there, but we'll have to see on that. Those should be the only 3 cables that I have to use off the power supplies. We're not doing any SATA drives or any external RGB connections, as the Z690 from ROG Strix has ARGB headers built into it. For those of you who wonder if I just turn off the cameras and stare at the builds for about an hour after I'm done, yes, I do. So there is the rough draft of what will be my next gaming PC. Definitely some things that I need to address here. I need to get the right length screws to sandwich between the fans and the radiator here. Need to figure out all of my wiring, both custom length and where I want, you know, system wires to go, so fan headers and all that kind of stuff. Need to figure out the RGB lighting, because I, again, don't want a rat's nest inside of here. I might end up doing some custom splicing on this just to save some space. So stick around for that. Other than that, I think this thing is going to turn out magnificently well. Obviously, there's a ton of finishing work to do on the case, as I want to bring the case itself to a mirror finish. So that is going to be a lot of wire wheel work and probably 3 or so hours on my polishing wheel. Also need to figure out my tubing for the custom water loop, but honestly, a couple of 90-degree fittings should get me where I need to go. I am going to do soft tubing, as I don't want to have to do, you know, some really narrow bends, and it really wouldn't be shown off anyway. And a couple of soft tubes, they're going to look just fine inside of here. Beyond that, I think we are ready to start planning for final assembly on this. I know this is a much different build than you normally see on this channel, but I hope it's interesting to you. If you like this build, let me know down in the comments below. Also, let me know if you'd make any changes to either the parts that I've put inside of here or layout of anything. I'm genuinely curious to hear if you have some better ideas than I have. On your way down there, make sure to drop this video a like and subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Follow me on Twitter at Craft Computing for daily shenanigans like this. And if you like the content you see on this channel and want to help support me in what I do, consider joining the Patreon. Link is also down in the video description. Once again, a huge shout out to Microcenter for making this video possible. Head on over to microcenter.com and get all the PC parts that you need shipped straight to your door. That's going to do it for me in this one, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Cheers, everyone. I'm gonna need some more coffee. And that is this giant box. No, not a giant box. But you're blowing hot air right under the... Sorry, just preempting all the GM fans.